The contractions started at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in March. Not the gentle, this might be it kind that the birthing class warned us about. The real ones. The kind that make you understand why they call it labor. David drove me to the hospital while his mother, Patricia, sat in the back seat offering unsolicited advice about breathing techniques she'd learned 40 years ago and hadn't used since. "You're tensing up too much, Lauren. You need to relax into the pain. That's the secret relaxation." I was too focused on not screaming to respond. David gripped my hand at every red light, his face pale with worry and excitement. "We're almost there. Just breathe." "I am breathing," I gasped. "That's literally all I'm doing." Patricia had arrived at our house 3 weeks earlier. Uninvited but determined. She'd announced she was coming to help with the baby, had packed 2 massive suitcases, and had taken over our guest room before David could formulate a gentle, "maybe later," that wouldn't offend her. "First-time parents need help," she declared, arranging her things in our guest room as if she planned to stay for months. "You'll thank me when the baby comes and you're too exhausted to think straight. My name is Lauren Hayes. I'm 29 years old, and I was about to give birth to my first child while my mother-in-law systematically invaded every aspect of my life. But what I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that Patricia had been stealing from me for 2 weeks. And she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life. The ring sat in my jewelry box in the master bedroom. A simple gold band with 3 small diamonds. Nothing extravagant. Worth maybe $3,000 if you found the right buyer. But to me, it was priceless. My grandmother had worn it for 63 years. Through the Depression. Through World War II when my grandfather was overseas. Through raising 4 children and burying one. Through building a life from nothing and leaving something meaningful behind. She'd given it to me 2 months before she died. Slipped it off her finger, thin now, the skin papery and loose, and pressed it into my palm. "For you, Lauren. Not for anyone else. Just you. Something to remember that love endures." I'd worn it every day for 5 years. On my right hand because my left had my engagement ring and wedding band. A constant reminder that I came from strong women who survived hard things. When I got pregnant, the ring started to get tight. Swelling, water retention, all the lovely side effects of growing a human. I'd stopped wearing it at 6 months, placed it carefully in my jewelry box in a velvet pouch, planning to put it back on after the baby came and my body returned to something resembling normal. That jewelry box sat on my dresser in plain view. I'd never had reason to worry about it. Until Patricia moved in. She had a way of being everywhere. In the kitchen reorganizing my cabinets. In the nursery rearranging the way I'd organized the baby clothes. In the living room commenting on our furniture choices and dust accumulation. "You really should dust more regularly," she'd said, running her finger along a shelf. "Babies are sensitive to dust. I'll dust after I give birth and can bend over without feeling like my spine is breaking," I'd responded. "No need to be snippy, dear. I'm just trying to help." That was her constant refrain. Just trying to help. As she criticized my meal choices. As she rearranged my pantry. As she went through my mail. As she commented on my weight gain, my fatigue, my decision to work from home until the baby arrived. Just trying to help apparently included going into my bedroom when I was at doctor's appointments. Going through my things. Taking inventory of what I had and what might be valuable. I didn't know that then. I learned it later, after everything fell apart. But that morning at 3 a.m., racing to the hospital, I was just focused on getting through contractions and meeting my daughter. 14 hours later, Lily was born. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect in every way. I held her for the first time and felt every cliché about motherhood settle into truth. The love. The terror. The overwhelming sense that everything had changed and nothing would ever be the same. David cried. I'd never seen him cry before. He held Lily with such careful reverence, as if she might shatter if he breathed wrong. Patricia took approximately 800 photos. Posted them immediately to Facebook with captions about "my beautiful grandbaby" and "so blessed to be here for this moment." "Patricia, can you not post those yet?" I'd asked, exhausted and raw. "We wanted to tell people privately first." "Oh, everyone already knows. I've been updating all day." David looked up from Lily. Mom, Lauren asked you not to post. It's too late now. Everyone's already commenting. Look, 63 likes. I was too tired to fight. Too overwhelmed by new baby hormones and the surreal reality that I was now responsible for a human life. I let it go. We stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Standard for a first-time birth with no complications. Patricia visited for hours each day, holding Lily, giving advice, taking more photos. You should really consider formula supplementation. Breast milk isn't always enough. The pediatrician says she's gaining well. I'm just saying. I had to supplement with David. I'm not supplementing. No need to be defensive, dear. I'm just trying to help. On the 3rd day, we brought Lily home. I was still bleeding, still sore, still learning how to nurse without feeling like my nipples might fall off. The house felt surreal. Like we'd left as 2 people and returned as 3, except one of the 3 was a tiny creature who needed constant attention and made alarming noises I didn't know how to interpret. Patricia was waiting at the house when we arrived. She'd let herself in with the spare key David had given her. Welcome home, she announced. I've prepared a casserole. And I've rearranged the nursery to make it more efficient. The changing table was in a terrible position. You'd be twisting your back every time. This is much better. I looked at the nursery I'd spent months perfecting. Everything was different. The changing table moved. The rocker relocated. The carefully organized drawers shuffled. Patricia, I had it arranged the way I wanted it. And now it's arranged the way it should be. You'll thank me when you're not developing back problems. I was too exhausted to argue. Too overwhelmed by the reality of a newborn who needed to eat every 2 hours. Too focused on healing and surviving to fight about furniture placement. David saw my face. Mom, maybe we should have discussed this first. I'm just trying to help, Patricia said, for the 1000th time. That phrase became the soundtrack to the first week of Lily's life. Patricia just trying to help by telling me I was holding the baby wrong. Just trying to help by suggesting my nursing technique needed improvement. Just trying to help by taking Lily from me every time the baby cried, as if I was incapable of soothing my own child. First-time mothers need guidance, she'd say. You don't know what you're doing yet. I'm learning. Yes, but why struggle when I already know? David tried to run interference, gently suggesting his mother give us space, carefully redirecting when she overstepped. But Patricia had a gift for making every boundary attempt sound like an attack on her helpfulness. I'm just trying to support you. I'm sorry if that's not wanted. The guilt would work. David would apologize. Patricia would stay. 1 week after Lily was born, I realized my grandmother's ring was missing. I'd gone to the jewelry box to get earrings, the first time I'd bothered with jewelry since giving birth. The velvet pouch was gone. I checked the other compartments. Searched the dresser drawers. Looked under the dresser in case it had fallen. Nothing. David, have you seen my grandmother's ring? The one in the velvet pouch. He was changing Lily's diaper, focused on wiping properly. The one you stopped wearing? No, why? It's not in my jewelry box. Maybe you moved it before the hospital? Put it somewhere safe. I didn't move it. I put it in the jewelry box at 6 months pregnant. That's where it's been. Check your nightstand. Maybe you put it there and forgot. I checked. Not there. I checked every drawer in the bedroom. Every pocket of every piece of clothing. Every surface where I might have absently set it down. Gone. David, it's really gone. Someone took it. Lauren, no one took it. We don't have people in the house. Your mother has been in the house. He looked up, offended. My mother wouldn't steal from you. I'm not saying she stole it. I'm saying it was here, and now it's not, and she's the only person who's been in our bedroom besides us. She's been helping with laundry. Maybe she moved it while putting clothes away. So ask her. He sighed. Finished with the diaper. Picked up Lily. Mom? Can you come here? Patricia appeared in the doorway. Yes, dear. Lauren's missing a ring. Her grandmother's ring. Have you seen it? Maybe moved it while doing laundry or something. Patricia's face showed concern. Perfect, practiced concern. Oh no. The one you always wore? I haven't seen it. Where do you keep it? In my jewelry box. In a velvet pouch. It was there before the hospital. Now it's gone. How strange. Maybe it fell? Got caught in bedding. I've checked everything. Well, I certainly haven't seen it. I've been doing laundry, yes, but I haven't touched your jewelry box. That would be inappropriate. The way she said inappropriate with just the slightest emphasis, as if I was accusing her of something terrible, made me back down. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just trying to find it. Of course. I'll keep an eye out. These things usually turn up in strange places. You've been so exhausted, maybe you moved it and don't remember. There it was. The subtle suggestion that I was the problem. That my postpartum brain was confused. That I'd misplaced something important and was now blaming others. Maybe I said, not believing it. Patricia helped me search. Made a show of looking through the bedroom, the bathroom, even offering to check the nursery. Not here either. I'm so sorry, Lauren. I know that ring was special. After she left the room, David squeezed my shoulder. It'll turn up. You've been sleep deprived. You probably put it somewhere safe and forgot. I didn't forget. I put it in the jewelry box. I remember specifically. Just give it a few days. Your brain isn't working right with no sleep. Even my husband was suggesting I was confused. Too tired to remember correctly. Too hormonal to trust my own memory. But I knew. I knew I'd put that ring in the velvet pouch in my jewelry box. And I knew Patricia had been the only person in our bedroom besides David and me. The next day, I installed a security camera in our bedroom. Small. Discreet. The kind that connects to your phone and records constantly to cloud storage. I positioned it on the bookshelf, angled to capture the dresser and jewelry box. Hidden behind a stack of books. David didn't know. I didn't tell him. Because suggesting we needed to surveil his mother would cause a fight I didn't have energy for while running on 2 hours of sleep and bleeding through pads the size of mattresses. I just wanted to know. If things were disappearing, I wanted proof. The camera caught Patricia entering our bedroom 3 times over the next 2 days. Each time when I was in the bathroom or nursing Lily in the nursery. Each time she went directly to the dresser. Opened the jewelry box. Looked through it methodically. She wasn't taking anything, there was nothing left worth taking. She was making sure. Making sure I hadn't found the ring. Making sure there was no evidence of what she'd done. But she didn't know about the camera. Didn't know that every entry, every search, every time she rifled through my things was being recorded and backed up to the cloud. 2 weeks after Lily was born, I was ready to confront Patricia. I had the footage. I had proof she'd been in my room, going through my jewelry. I was preparing to ask directly if she'd taken the ring when my phone buzzed with a Google alert. I'd set up alerts years ago for my grandmother's name, Marguerite, because I'd been researching family history and wanted to catch any online mentions. The alert showed a listing on a local pawn shop's website. Gold ring with 3 diamonds. Vintage. Engraved MC to EC forever, $450. MC to EC Marguerite Chin to Edward Chin. My grandparents. The engraving I'd looked at 1,000 times, worn smooth from 63 years of wear. My grandmother's ring. At a pawn shop 3 miles from our house. I clicked through to the listing. Posted 6 days ago. Right when I'd been in the hospital giving birth. I called the pawn shop. Hi, I'm calling about the vintage gold ring with 3 diamonds. Is it still available? Let me check. Keyboard sounds. Yeah, still here. You interested? I am. Can you tell me when it came in? Looks like March 15th. March 15th. The day I gave birth. The day Patricia had been at our house alone while David and I were at the hospital. Can you tell me who brought it in? Can't give out that information. Privacy rules. Even if the ring was stolen? Even if I can prove it's mine. The clerk's voice changed. More careful. If you believe property was stolen, you need to file a police report. We'll work with officers, but I can't give you customer information directly. I thanked him. Hung up. Sat staring at my phone. Patricia had taken my grandmother's ring. Had pawned it while I was in labor. Had gotten $450 for something worth $3,000 and worth infinitely more to me. And she'd been going through my jewelry box since, making sure I hadn't found any evidence. Making sure there was nothing to point back to her. I had 2 choices. Confront her directly. Or involve the police. If I confronted her, she'd deny it. Would cry. Would say I was attacking her. would make herself the victim, would turn David against me by claiming I was accusing his mother of theft without proof. But I had proof. The camera footage showing her in my room. The pawn shop listing matching my grandmother's ring. The timeline that made it impossible to be coincidence. I called the non-emergency police line. I need to report a theft. A family member stole jewelry while I was in the hospital giving birth and pawned it. The officer who responded was a woman in her 40s named Maria Santos. She listened to my story without judgment. Looked at the camera footage on my phone. Made notes about the pawn shop listing. The timing is suspicious, she said. But to prove theft, we'll need the pawn shop's records showing who brought the ring in. And even then, if it's your mother-in-law, this gets complicated. Family theft cases are messy. Can you at least get the ring back? It's mine. It was my grandmother's. If the pawn shop cooperates and you can prove ownership, yes. Do you have photos of you wearing the ring? Documentation of it being your grandmother's. I had both. Photos from my wedding where the ring was visible. Photos from family events. My grandmother's will mentioning the ring by description and leaving it specifically to me. Officer Santos made copies of everything. I'll contact the pawn shop. Get their records. If your mother-in-law brought it in, we'll have proof. Then it becomes a question of what you want to do. Press charges or handle it as a family matter. I want my ring back. Understood. I'll be in touch. She left. I fed Lily. Changed Lily. Put Lily down for a nap. Moved through the motions of new motherhood while my mind raced. Patricia had stolen from me. While I was giving birth. While I was at my most vulnerable. She'd taken something irreplaceable and pawned it for cash. Why? Did she need money? Was she just entitled enough to think my things were hers to take? Had she seen the ring, decided it wasn't being used, and convinced herself I wouldn't miss it? The answer came from David's sister, Michelle, who called that evening. Lauren, I need to tell you something about Mom. She's got a gambling problem. I sat down heavily. What? Online gambling. Started a few years ago. She's lost tens of thousands of dollars. Dad almost left her over it. She promised she'd stop, but I think she's back at it. How do you know? She borrowed money from me 3 months ago. Said it was for house repairs. Then Dad told me there were no house repairs. She lied. And if she's lying about where money's going, she's gambling again. Michelle, I think she stole from me. Silence. Then, what did she take? I told her about the ring. The pawn shop. The camera footage. The timing. Michelle swore. That's low. Even for Mom. Lauren, I'm so sorry. She's sick. The gambling thing, it's an addiction. But that doesn't excuse theft. Does David know? About the gambling. He knows she had a problem. He doesn't know it's current. Dad and I have been keeping it quiet because Mom swore she was done. She's not done. She's taking people's things and pawning them to fund it. What are you going to do? I filed a police report. I'm getting my ring back. What happens to Patricia after that, I don't know. After we hung up, I sat in the nursery watching Lily sleep. This tiny perfect creature who'd been born into a family with dysfunction I hadn't fully understood until now. Patricia wasn't just an overbearing mother-in-law. She was an addict. And addicts stole from family. It wasn't personal, it was compulsion. The gambling mattered more than relationships, more than morality, more than the fact that she was stealing from her son's wife during childbirth. Officer Santos called 2 days later. We have the pawn shop records. Patricia Hayes brought the ring in on March 15th at 2 p.m. Provided ID. Got $450. The ring is still there. They're holding it for us. You can pick it up tomorrow. What about Patricia? That's your choice. We have evidence of theft. We can press charges. Or you can handle it as a family matter. What would charges look like? Theft under $5,000 is a misdemeanor in this state. If convicted, she'd likely get probation, restitution, maybe community service. Probably no jail time for a first offense. And if we handle it privately, she has to return the ring, which is already happening. Beyond that, whatever consequences you decide. But understand, if she did this to you, she's probably done it to others. Might do it again. Let me talk to my husband. I hung up. turned to David, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation with increasing horror. Mom pawned your grandmother's ring? While I was in labor. Got $450. Presumably to gamble. That can't be right. Mom wouldn't. David, Officer Santos has the pawn shop's records. Your mother's ID. Video footage of the transaction. And I have security camera footage of her going through my jewelry box multiple times since then, making sure I hadn't found evidence. His face crumbled. She promised she was done. After what happened with Dad, she promised. Michelle told me about the gambling. Your mother is an addict. And addicts steal from family. What do? We get the ring back. Then we decide if we're pressing charges. Charges? Lauren, she's my mother. She's a thief who stole from me while I was giving birth to her granddaughter. The fact that she's your mother doesn't make that okay. But criminal charges are what happen when you commit crimes. David, this isn't shoplifting. This is theft from family. This is violating our home and our trust. This is stealing something irreplaceable for gambling money. Can't we just confront her? Make her admit it? Get her help. Addicts don't admit things unless forced. And getting her help isn't my responsibility. Getting my ring back is. That evening, Patricia came downstairs from the guest room where she'd been napping. She'd been staying with us for 3 weeks now, showing no signs of leaving. David and I were waiting in the living room. Lily was upstairs sleeping. The security camera footage queued up on our TV. The police report printed and sitting on the coffee table. Is everything all right? Patricia asked, sensing the atmosphere. Sit down, Mom. She sat. Looked between us. What's this about? I pressed play on the video. Patricia, in our bedroom. Opening the jewelry box. Looking through it methodically. 3 separate instances over 2 days. What is this? Why are you recording me? The question is why you're going through my jewelry box. Multiple times. In my private bedroom. I was looking for something. I thought I'd misplaced. You were checking to make sure the ring you stole wasn't there. Making sure there was no evidence. I pulled up the pawn shop listing on my phone. Showed her the photo of my grandmother's ring. This ring. The one you pawned on March 15th while I was in labor. Patricia's face went white. I didn't, that's not. The pawn shop has your ID on file. Video footage of you bringing it in. The police have already verified everything. The ring is being returned to me tomorrow. Police? Her voice cracked. You went to the police? Over a misunderstanding? It's not a misunderstanding. It's theft. You stole from me and pawned my grandmother's ring for $450. Presumably to gamble, since Michelle told me you're back at it. Patricia turned to David, tears instant. You're going to believe her over me? Your own mother. Mom, we have video evidence. We have pawn shop records. This isn't about belief. It's about proof. I was going to give it back. I just needed a short-term loan. I was going to buy it back. With what money? I interrupted. You're unemployed. You're staying in our house rent-free. Where exactly were you getting money to buy back a ring you stole? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. But calling the police? Having me investigated like a criminal? You are a criminal. You committed a crime. How can you be so cold? I'm family. I came here to help you with the baby. You came here to find things worth stealing. How long have you been planning this? Did you scope out our bedroom before you moved in? Or did you see the ring after you arrived and decide it was fair game? I have a problem. I need help, not accusations. You need accountability. Which you won't get if we pretend this didn't happen. David leaned forward. Mom, Lauren and I have to decide whether to press charges. The police are waiting for our answer. Press charges? Against your own mother. Patricia's tears intensified. David, please. I made a mistake. I'll get help. I'll go to Gamblers Anonymous. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't let her destroy our family. You destroyed the family when you stole from my wife. She's turning you against me. Can't you see that? She's always been jealous of our relationship. Stop. David's voice was firm. This isn't about Lauren's jealousy. This is about you stealing. From your daughter-in-law. While she was having a baby. There's no excuse for that. So you're taking her side? Completely? I'm taking the side of evidence and basic decency. You stole. You got caught. Those are consequences. Patricia stood up. If you press charges against me, I'll never speak to you again. I'll never see Lily. You'll lose your mother over this. You're not the victim here, Mom. Neither is she. She's being vindictive. She finally has an excuse to push me out of your life, and she's taking it. I'd stayed quiet during this exchange, letting David handle his mother. But that accusation broke my silence. Patricia, I didn't need an excuse to push you out. I've tolerated you reorganizing my house, criticizing my parenting, taking over my space for 3 weeks because David loves you. But stealing my grandmother's ring? That's not me creating an excuse. That's you showing me exactly who you are. And who am I? Someone who values gambling money more than family trust. Someone who would steal from a woman in labor. Someone who only apologizes when caught and frames accountability as an attack. You self-righteous little. Mom, David warned. Patricia grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. Tonight. And don't expect me back. Don't expect me to be a grandmother to that baby. You've made your choice. We haven't decided about charges yet, I said. You should probably stay in town. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you. The police are waiting to hear if we're pressing charges. If you leave the state, that looks like fleeing. Which makes everything worse. She stared at me with pure hatred. Then turned to David. Choose. Right now. Me or her. Mom, don't do this. Choose. I choose my wife and daughter. I choose the family I'm building over the mother who stole from that family. Patricia's face twisted. You'll regret this. She went upstairs. Packed her 2 massive suitcases in under 20 minutes. Came back down, wheeling them behind her. I hope you're happy, she spat at me. You got what you wanted. Me gone. David, all to yourself. Patricia, I wanted my grandmother's ring. That's it. Everything else is consequences of your choices. She slammed the door on her way out. David and I sat in silence for a long moment. Are we pressing charges? He finally asked. Do you want to? I want my mom to get help. But I don't know if charges will accomplish that or just make her angrier. Anger is her choice. Accountability is ours. What do you think we should do? I thought about my grandmother. About 63 years of marriage symbolized in a ring that had been pawned for gambling money. About Lily, upstairs, who deserved to grow up understanding that actions had consequences, even for family. I think we press charges. Not out of vindictiveness. But because your mother needs to understand that stealing has real consequences. And because if we don't, she'll do it again. Maybe to us. Maybe to someone else. Okay. David's voice was heavy. Okay. We press charges. I called Officer Santos the next morning. We want to press charges. Understood. We'll move forward with the case. Your mother-in-law will be contacted by an officer and informed of the charges. She'll need to appear in court. What happens to her? Likely probation. Restitution for the pawn shop fees. Possibly mandated gambling treatment. It's her first offense, so jail time is unlikely unless she violates probation. And the ring. You can pick it up this afternoon. I'll text you the address. I picked up the ring 2 hours later. Held it in my hand, that simple gold band with 3 small diamonds. Engraving worn smooth. My grandmother's ring returned. I cried in the parking lot. Not just from relief, but from grief. Grief that this beautiful symbol of enduring love had been treated as disposable. That it had been taken from me at one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. But it was back. I was getting it sized the next week so I could wear it again. So it could return to where it belonged. When I got home, David was holding Lily, rocking her gently. You got it back. I did. Mom's been calling. I haven't answered. That's okay. She left a voicemail. Said we're destroying her life. That she's the victim here. She's an addict. In her mind, she probably is the victim. That's how addiction works. You rewrite reality so you're never at fault. Do you think she'll actually show up for court? I don't know. But that's not our responsibility. We did what we needed to do. The rest is up to her. 2 months after Patricia's arrest, the court date arrived. She'd been formally charged with misdemeanor theft. Pled guilty in exchange for probation and mandated gambling treatment. We didn't attend the hearing. Just received notice of the plea deal. Patricia was sentenced to 2 years probation, 1 year of weekly GA meetings, and restitution of $65, the difference between what she'd received at the pawn shop and what I'd paid in police recovery fees. She'd called David once, 3 weeks after leaving. He'd answered. "I want to see Lily," she'd said. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just demands. "When you've completed treatment and can prove you're dealing with your gambling problem, we can discuss supervised visits." Supervised? You don't trust me with my own granddaughter. You stole from us, Mom. Trust isn't automatic anymore. She'd hung up. Hadn't called since. David's father, Robert, had reached out separately. "I'm sorry about Patricia. She's getting help, finally. But I understand why you did what you did." "Do you?" I'd asked. "Yes. She stole from you during a sacred time." "That's unconscionable. Family or not. Thank you for understanding. David's lucky to have you. Someone who isn't afraid to hold people accountable. That's rare." 6 months after pressing charges, I was playing with Lily on the living room floor when the doorbell rang. David answered. Patricia stood on our porch, looking smaller somehow. Less certain. "Can we talk?" David looked back at me. I nodded. He let her in. She sat on the edge of the couch. Didn't reach for Lily, who was drooling on a toy nearby. "I've been in treatment. 6 months now. GA meetings. Individual therapy. I'm working through why I do what I do." "Okay," David said carefully. "I stole from you. Both of you. But especially from Lauren at a time when I should have been supporting her. I violated your trust and your home. And I tried to make myself the victim when you held me accountable. That was wrong. All of it was wrong. I waited. There was more coming. I have a gambling addiction. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation. When I'm in the grip of it, I convince myself that rules don't apply to me. That small thefts don't matter. That I'll fix everything once I win. But I never win. I just lose more and steal more and hurt more people." "Why are you here?" I asked. "To apologize. Not to ask for anything. Not to demand access to Lily. Just to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry I stole your grandmother's ring. I'm sorry I did it while you were in labor. I'm sorry I went through your things and violated your privacy. I'm sorry I tried to manipulate David into choosing sides. I'm sorry for all of it." "Thank you," I said simply. She looked surprised. "That's it? Thank you. What else is there?" "You apologized. I accept your apology. That doesn't mean things go back to normal. It just means I acknowledge your apology. I'd like to have a relationship with Lily. Eventually. When you're ready. That's something we'll discuss. In the future. After you've maintained recovery for a longer period." "How long?" "I don't know. As long as it takes for us to trust that you won't steal from us again. And if I stay in recovery, if I prove I've changed, then we'll talk about supervised visits. About rebuilding trust. About what role you can have in Lily's life. But Patricia, I need you to understand something. You don't get automatic access to my daughter. Grandparent relationships are earned, not owed. And you destroyed yours when you stole from me." She flinched. "I know. I'm working on accepting that." "Good. Keep working." She left after 20 minutes. No dramatic scene. No manipulation. Just an apology and an understanding that consequences remained. "How do you feel?" David asked after she left. "Okay." She seems sincere. But sincere doesn't mean safe. Not yet. "Do you think you'll ever trust her again?" "I don't know. Trust requires consistent behavior over time. She's been in recovery 6 months. That's good. But it's not enough to prove she won't relapse. We have to protect Lily." "I know. I miss my mom. The person she was before gambling took over. Maybe treatment will bring that person back. Maybe it won't. But we can't sacrifice our family's safety hoping she'll change." 1 year after the theft, Patricia was still in recovery. Still attending meetings. She'd gotten a job at a bookstore. Moved into a small apartment. Started rebuilding her life. She called monthly to talk to David. Never pushed for more access to Lily. Just stayed connected to her son, respecting the boundaries we'd set. "I'm proud of her," David said after one of their calls. "She's really doing the work." She is. And when she hits 2 years clean, we can discuss supervised visits. 2 years. Gambling relapse is common in the first year. I want to see sustained recovery before she's around our daughter. That's not punishment. That's protection. Fair enough. 2 years after the theft, Patricia did get supervised visits. Once a month at our house, with David or me always present. She held Lily carefully, read her books, played gently, never overstepped, never tried to undermine us. She's beautiful, Patricia would say. You're doing a wonderful job with her. It was strange, hearing compliments instead of criticisms, seeing respect instead of entitlement. The gambling treatment had changed her. Or maybe facing real consequences had changed her. Maybe both. Do you think we did the right thing? David asked one night after Patricia left. Pressing charges? Yes, because without consequences, she wouldn't have gotten help. She'd still be gambling, still be stealing, still be destroying her life and hurting the people around her. Mom says the same thing. That getting arrested was the best thing that could have happened to her. That it forced her to face what she'd been avoiding. Then we did the right thing, even though it was hard. 3 years after the theft, Patricia asked if she could take Lily to the park. Unsupervised. Just grandmother and granddaughter. I've been in recovery for 3 years. I have a sponsor. I go to meetings weekly. I haven't gambled since the day I got arrested. I want to have a real relationship with Lily. Not just supervised visits in your living room. David and I discussed it. Talked to our therapist. We'd started couples counseling after the theft to process everything. Considered the risks and benefits. She's done the work, our therapist said. 3 years of sustained recovery is significant. At some point, you have to decide if you're going to let her rebuild trust or keep her permanently at arm's length. We decided to try it. 1 hour. At the park 2 blocks away. With our phones on and ready. Patricia took Lily to the park. Pushed her on the swings. Helped her down the slide. Brought her back exactly when promised, laughing and holding hands. Thank you, Patricia said, tears in her eyes. Thank you for trusting me with her. You earned it, I said. 3 years of consistent behavior earned it. I won't let you down. I know. For years after the theft, Lily was old enough to ask about the ring I wore every day. What's that, Mama? It's my grandmother's ring. She wore it for a very long time. Now I wear it to remember her. It's pretty. It is. And it's special. It reminds me that love lasts even when people are gone. And that some things are worth fighting for. Like what? Like family. And trust. And making sure the people we love treat us with respect. She nodded, not really understanding but accepting. She'd understand better when she was older. When I told her the full story about the ring and what happened and why boundaries matter. 5 years after the theft, Patricia had been in recovery long enough that we'd relaxed most restrictions. She had regular, unsupervised time with Lily. She'd rebuilt relationships with David and his sister. She volunteered at a treatment center, helping other gambling addicts find recovery. I sponsor 3 people now, she told me over coffee one afternoon. Lily was at preschool. Patricia and I had started having occasional coffee dates, carefully, slowly rebuilding something that resembled a relationship. That's wonderful. I tell them my story. About stealing from my daughter-in-law while she was in labor. About the arrest. About losing access to my granddaughter. About hitting rock bottom because I couldn't admit I had a problem. What do they say? Most of them see themselves in it. The denial. The justifications. The belief that they can control it even as it's controlling them. Some of them get angry, they're not there yet. But some hear it and start to break through the denial. That's when change becomes possible. Do you still think about gambling? Every day. But I have tools now. Ways to interrupt the thought pattern. People to call. Meetings to attend. It's not about never having the urge. It's about not acting on it. And you haven't? In 5 years? Not once. Because I know what I'd lose. My relationship with David. With Lily. With you. The life I've rebuilt. It's not worth it. It was never worth it, but I couldn't see that before. I'm proud of you, Patricia. For doing the work. For staying in recovery. For actually changing instead of just promising to change. Thank you for holding me accountable. I hated you for it at the time. Thought you were vindictive and cruel. But you saved my life by not letting me get away with it. I wasn't trying to save your life. I was trying to protect mine. I know. But you did both. 10 years after the theft, Lily was 11. Old enough for the full story. We sat her down one evening, David and I, with Patricia present at her own request. Lily, we need to tell you something about Grandma Patricia. Something that happened a long time ago. Okay. I told her about the ring. About the theft. About the gambling addiction. About the arrest and the recovery and the years of rebuilding trust. Lily listened carefully. Then turned to Patricia. You stole from Mom? I did. I had a disease called addiction. It made me do things I would never normally do. But that's not an excuse. I stole. I hurt people. And I had to face consequences and get help. Did you go to jail? No. But I had to go to court. And I had to go to treatment. And I lost the privilege of being around you for 2 years while I proved I could stay in recovery. Are you still in recovery? Yes. 10 years now. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. I work every day to stay healthy. Do you still want to steal? No. Because I know what I'd lose. And because I've learned better ways to handle the feelings that made me want to gamble. Lily thought about this. Then, so people can change? Yes, I said. But only if they want to. And only if they're held accountable. Grandma changed because she had to face real consequences for her actions. That's what made change possible. And you forgave her? I accepted her apology. And I let her rebuild trust over many years. That's not the same as forgetting what happened. But it meant giving her a chance to prove she'd changed. That seems fair. It is fair. And Lily, I want you to remember this story. Because someday, someone might hurt you. Someone in your family or someone you love. And you'll have to decide whether to accept bad treatment or hold them accountable. I hope you choose accountability. Even when it's hard. Even when people say you're being mean or unforgiving. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Okay, Mama. She went back to her homework. The conversation over for her, but not for us. Patricia stayed after Lily went to bed. Thank you for letting me be part of that conversation. For letting me take responsibility instead of hiding what I did. Lily needed to hear it. She needs to understand that addiction is real. That consequences matter. That people can change but aren't owed forgiveness. Do you forgive me? Really? I thought about it. About the past 10 years. About watching Patricia do the hard work of recovery. About the relationship we'd slowly, carefully built. I think so. I don't forget what happened. But I'm not carrying anger about it anymore. I've moved on. We've moved on. That feels like forgiveness. Thank you. I know I don't deserve it. Nobody deserves forgiveness. That's why it's called grace. 15 years after the theft, I was cleaning out Lily's childhood things when I found a school essay she'd written in middle school. The assignment had been to write about someone who'd overcome adversity. She'd written about Patricia. My grandmother is a gambling addict in recovery. When I was a baby, she stole jewelry from my mother to pay for her addiction. She got arrested and had to go to treatment. For 2 years, she couldn't see me because she needed to prove she was safe. Now she's been in recovery for 15 years. She helps other addicts. She volunteers at a treatment center. She tells her story so other people know change is possible. My grandmother isn't perfect. But she did something really hard. She admitted she was wrong and changed her life. That makes her brave. I cried reading it. Not from sadness, but from the recognition that holding Patricia accountable hadn't destroyed our family. It had saved it. That evening, I showed the essay to David. He read it silently, then looked up with tears in his eyes. We did the right thing. We did. I was so scared when you wanted to press charges. I thought it would end my relationship with my mom. That she'd never forgive us. That we'd lose her forever. Instead, we got her back. The real her. Not the addict who stole and lied and manipulated. But the person she became when she finally got help. Do you think she would have gotten help without the arrest? No. Addicts don't change unless they have to. We gave her a reason to have to. 20 years after the theft, Patricia died peacefully in her sleep at 73. She'd been in recovery for 2 decades, had sponsored dozens of people through their own recovery journeys, had rebuilt relationships with her entire family, had been a present, loving grandmother to Lily and eventually, to Lily's younger brother, James. At her funeral, person after person stood up to talk about how Patricia had helped them. How her honesty about her addiction had given them permission to seek help. How her story had shown them that change was possible. Lily spoke last. She was 21 now, confident and self-assured. My grandmother stole from my mother when I was a baby. That's not a secret. Grandma never hid what she'd done. She talked about it openly because she wanted people to understand that addiction makes you do terrible things. But she also wanted people to know that you can recover. That you can rebuild trust. That you can become someone different than who you were. My mom pressed charges against my grandmother. A lot of people thought that was cruel. But I'm grateful she did it. Because without consequences, my grandmother wouldn't have gotten help. Without accountability, she would have kept gambling and stealing and destroying her life. My mom loved my grandmother enough to hold her accountable. That's real love. Not the love that enables and excuses, but the love that says, I care about you enough to make you face what you've done. Grandma told me once that the day she got arrested was the day her life began. Everything before was just existing in denial. Everything after was actually living. She said my mom gave her that gift by refusing to pretend the theft was okay. So today, I'm grateful. For the grandmother who did the hard work of recovery. For the mother who held her accountable. And for the lesson that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set a boundary and hold it firm. After the funeral, an older woman approached me. You're Lauren? Patricia's daughter-in-law. I am. I'm Susan. Patricia sponsored me for 7 years. She told me your story, about the ring, the arrest, everything. I wanted to thank you. Thank me. For not letting her get away with it. For pressing charges. For holding the line. Patricia said you saved her life by refusing to be a victim. That you showed her what accountability looked like. And then she taught me the same thing. I've been in recovery for 8 years because of her. And she was in recovery because of you. I didn't know what to say. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd just been protecting myself and my family. But in doing so, I'd started a chain reaction that had helped dozens of people. I'm glad it helped, I finally said. It did. More than you know. That evening, I sat in Lily's old nursery, now a guest room, holding my grandmother's ring. I'd worn it every day for 20 years. Through joy and grief. Through conflict and resolution. Through holding boundaries and watching people change. The ring had been stolen. But it had come back. And in the process of getting it back, I'd learned something important about love and accountability and the difference between forgiveness and enabling. My grandmother had worn this ring for 63 years as a symbol of enduring love. I'd worn it for 25 years as a reminder that some things are worth fighting for. Not just the ring itself, but what it represented. Trust. Respect. The understanding that love doesn't mean accepting bad treatment. Patricia had stolen it in a moment of addiction-driven desperation. But I'd gotten it back. And in the process, I'd gotten something else too. The knowledge that I could set boundaries and hold them. That I could demand accountability without cruelty. That I could love people while refusing to be hurt by them. If you've ever had a family member steal from you, if you've ever been told you're too harsh for setting boundaries, if you've ever been accused of being unforgiving for refusing to accept bad treatment, know this. Accountability isn't cruelty. Consequences aren't punishment. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's destructive behavior. I pressed charges against my mother-in-law for stealing my grandmother's ring. People said I was cold, vindictive, unforgiving. But Patricia got treatment. Patricia recovered. Patricia rebuilt her life and helped dozens of others do the same. And she told me years later that the arrest saved her life. Sometimes love looks like boundaries. Sometimes healing requires consequences. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is also the rightest thing. The ring sits on my finger now. A reminder of enduring love. Of trust rebuilt. Of the long, hard journey from theft to recovery to reconciliation. It was stolen. But it came back. Just like Patricia. Just like our family. Different than before, but stronger for what we'd survived.